Message from a person who really wants to be PM one day.
So, ever since the Queen died, a lot of Australians have been wondering, should we become a republic? Well, it's a bit of a tricky question, and if a referendum came out tomorrow asking, should Australia become a republic, just that question alone, I would probably say no. And here's why. Republics come in different shapes and forms, so if it was just the question if Australia should become a republic, well, then I wouldn't exactly trust a politician to, at least with the way things are right now, to do the right thing and make a good republic. And I'll explain a bit more about that. But first, let's slow down and look at the current system Australia has. Australia has a Westminster system. Think of it like a triangle. You have 3 points of power. So typically on the top of the triangle, you have executive. These are the prime minister. This is the prime minister and the cabinet of ministers. So they implement laws. Then on the bottom right side, you would have legislative. The legislative create laws, and this is typically the Parliament House. And then on the other side, on the bottom, you would have judicial. These are the courts, and they interpret and apply the laws. All three of these keep the other one in check, so no one has too much power over the other, and it seems to be a pretty good system. So why would people want to change to a republic? Well, right now, as a Westminster system, we do have to pay taxes to the Queen and monarchy, and not many people like that. Not to mention, Australians might feel, myself included, that we want to be free of the monarchy. We can still be part of the Commonwealth, but we want to be our own country and we want to be independent. Now, in 1999, there was a referendum on should we make Australia a republic. Basically, the Queen and Governor General would be replaced by a president who would be picked and voted in by 2/3 of the majority of Parliament. Around 45% of Australians said yes. 54% of Australians said no. And it's kind of understandable. I mean, what's the point in having a president, even if he may have been for ceremonial purposes, if we're not going to be able to pick who it is and who we're going to be able to vote for? It doesn't really make sense. And the other problem with this proposed republic would have been that only the elitists and, the apparently top tier people of the world would have been able to get this position. It would obviously lead to some serious problems. So now let's go back to the topic of republics. As I said before, there are many types of republics. Let's look at Russia. Russia, at least according to its constitution, is a republic. Article 80 actually states on the Russian constitution that the president should be the head of state. It also, if you read the rest of that constitution, gives the president a lot of power. Now, way before Putin came in, Yeltsin was actually in charge, and he changed the constitution to give the president a bit more power than necessary. And then Putin came in and he kept adding those changes, making him, a dictator. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Doesn't the constitution of Russia mean diddly squat then? Like, what's the point of having a constitution? And you would be right. But this is the point I'm trying to make. We can't, if Australia was to become a republic, we can't give one part of the powers, for example, the future president, too much power. It would just lead to disaster, or in Russia's case, an oligarchy dictatorship. So, what about the most famous republic of them all? The US. The United States is a constitutional republic. So, what does that mean for the United States? Well, the United States does have 3 points of power, but the executive, the president, has a bit more power than the rest of them. So, the president can appoint judges and pardon people. He can also introduce laws and he can also veto laws. So obviously that sounds from the sounds of it, that's quite a bit of power for one person to have. So if you're hearing a distant sound right now that sounds like that, just know that's my baby. And my husband is watching him right now, so I'm sorry for any disruptions. He's going to be a very opinionated child. He is going to be a very opinionated child when he's much older. So let's look at the legislative side. The legislative side is Congress. Now, Congress does have some power, but they don't have that much power. They usually share the power with the judicial side, which is the courts. So what can Congress do? What can the legislative side do? They can override vetoes, they ratify treaties, appoint money, they can impeach the president, and they can also declare war. They can also create lower courts, impeach judges, propose amendments to overrule judicial decisions. So that's what the legislative side can do. So what about the judicial side? Well, the judicial side can obviously, they're the Supreme Court judges. It is their job to uphold the Constitution. They can declare executive actions as unconstitutional and declare Congress as unconstitutional too. Now, technically this system does work, but it can also lead to dangerous people getting into power. One such dangerous person is who I like to refer to as the overfried circus peanut with a wig, also known as Trump. Trump constantly used and like I said, very opinionated. Trump's constantly used and abused his powers as president to attack the constitutional and gain as much power as possible. He came actually pretty close to creating a dictatorship within the US. And it's not exactly the type of republic Australia probably wants. So what about other republics? Well, Germany is also a republic. Germany is called a parliamentary republic. They're actually, believe it or not, very similar to the Australian government. Except one of their main differences is instead of having a prime minister, they have a chancellor. And instead of having a governor general and a queen, they have a president. Now, the German president is elected, but he or she doesn't have any real role within the government. Their role is purely ceremonial. Now, I personally think that if Australia was to become a republic, modeling them after the German model wouldn't be that bad. I mean, we would still keep majority of things the same, except instead of having a queen and governor general, we would instead be able to elect a president for ceremonial positions. So I guess that's it for today's video. I hope you all learned something. And please let me know what you think in the comments. Should Australia become a republic, and what type of republic do you think they should become? Please don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video. I really appreciate it. Yeah, bye.
This has been a message from your wannabe PM and brought to you by me and my hard work brains, and resources you can look into that can be found in the comments. Like and subscribe.